Happy Monday and welcome to the Healing She Got Faith show. This is Lily. I am the founder of Healing She Got Faith. I am also your host and self-love advocate of the Healing She Got Faith talk show. If you are new here, welcome. Healing She Got Faith is a safe place for adults who are dealing with grief and or on their self-love journey. We discuss the power of grief and grief beyond death, as well as we advocate for our grief education. And so that simply means we are an organization that really prides ourselves in knowing and understanding grief and also like helping those in need. And also through grief, we believe that we learn the true meaning of self-love. So welcome. If you are a continuing follower and listener, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. If you are here today listening to this, whenever you listen to it, whether it's Monday or not, I am actually not at the office recording. You can hear animals in the background. I am outside of my house recording, and it's actually kind of rainy, so I'm kind of surprised that you can hear all these like birds and bugs and all that. But nevertheless, we are going to move on with the show. I have been trying to record this episode for like 3 days now, and this week has just been so hectic. And then also too, I just didn't want to miss out on another episode because we did not have an episode on October 17th or 24th, and that was just due to unforeseen circumstances. I also opened my grand opening, I opened my buildings. I had my grand opening, which we will be discussing in today's topic, as well as there was a mass shooting in St. Louis, and so we're gonna kind of talk about that and what that looked like, as well as my sister got really sick. I spent the day in the hospital with her, as well as I have a house full of puppies. As well as the day of my grand opening, my other dog decided to have her puppies. So it's been a lot going on. It's been really hard to balance, just life in general. And so I just wanted to come here. I don't think today's episode is going to be too long, but I wanted to come in and check in with you all and just kind of let y'all know what's going on. This will be the end of our Power of Grief series. I'm so sad. But we have to move on to another series. And so I'm excited to end it today, and starting next week in a new month, we will have a brand new series. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our icebreaker. So if you don't know what our icebreaker is, and I do this whether it's on the podcast, whether it's at a conference, whether it's at a professional development, I have the same icebreaker. I never changed it. I probably will never change it. But what I do is I bring in affirmation cards. I shuffle them and we pick them. And when you pick them, you discuss. You read it and then you explain if it resonates with you, and if so, why or why not. If I don't pick cards, which today is one of the days I don't have cards because I didn't bring any home with me. I usually like bring up a quote or affirmation that I was sent. I credit everybody from the cards to the affirmations that I get. So we'll read it, we'll discuss it, and that's our icebreaker. It's a really good conversation starter. It's a really good way to have people just be comfortable with talking, especially when we're talking about grief and self-love and vulnerability and healing. You always want to get people to talk, and so that is what we are doing. So today I have an affirmation, and it's actually an affirmation from Friday, and it is from the organization Black Female Therapist. If you're looking for like good daily affirmations, go to blackfemaletherapist.com, sign up for their affirmations. I think I pay like $1.99 a month, and they text you every day. They send you like therapist thoughts and things like that. It's really cool. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and it's really cool. So I pulled up Friday's affirmation, and it says, I am a priority. There is no explanation needed. I will I will remind myself of the need to pour into me before pouring into anyone else. Me time is no longer an option, but a necessity. Loving me first makes me better in all areas of my life. And then, so usually they send you a affirmation, and then they send you like a little graphic, and the graphic says, affirm it. I will remind myself of the need to pour into me before pouring into anyone else. So the graphic is like a little cliff notes of the actual affirmation. So I'm gonna read it again. I am a priority. There is no explanation needed. I will remind myself of the need to pour into me before pouring into anyone else. Me time is no longer an option, but a necessity. Loving me first makes me better in all areas of life. This is so true. And this is like the premise of our life quote, love you the way you love the world. Because I realized in my grief story that I was not loving me at all. And I realized in my grief story that I was putting myself before everybody else. And so that's the one thing about grief, and the power of grief is that grief allows you to confront everything that you've ever denied yourself. Grief forces you to do that in a way, as well as you realize, well, let me speak about Lisa. I realized that I was doing everything for everyone else, and I was not catering to Lisa. I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I didn't like. There were times like I know that I was not present in the moment, and I missed out on a lot of good memories because I was so worried about everybody else. Whether it was a guy I was dating, whether it was family, whether it was a friend, whether it was like me trying to be superwoman and trying to come in and save the day, because I always felt like that was my duty, like that was my duty to be the superhero, and nobody asked me to. And that is a conversation, honey, because that we need to have. Nobody asked me to save the day, but in my head, like that's what I was supposed to do. That is what everybody around me always told me to do. Like, you gotta serve, you gotta be there, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you blah 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 blah. And it got to a point where like I was doing so much for everybody else that I was not doing anything for me. And so I like the first line, I am a priority. There is no explanation needed. Like, I am the priority. And those are the first two lines of the affirmations. I will remind myself of the need to pour into me before pouring into anyone else. That's the thing. Like, you really can't pour from an empty cup. And I think so much of the time we're giving ourselves to everyone, and we think that it's what we're supposed to do. We think that's how life is supposed to be. In reality, like, I can't give you no more than what I'm giving myself. I saw something on Facebook. It was like, if all you had was 40% today and you gave 40%, you actually gave 100%. And I just think that's so true. Like, every day you're not going to be at 100%. And I think now in life with self-care, self-love, y'all hear them puppies barking? um and with the term self-love, self-care, healing, those words are oversaturated. And then you have people who are like, 5 ways to heal, 5 ways to be your best healed self, and you have people doing that. And the thing is, like, the healing journey is a personal journey, and the healing journey is something that you have to be able to just endure on your own, and you can't really worry about anybody else. I was just having a conversation with one of my aunts, who I would say is like one of my spiritual mentors as well, just like one of my guides in life. And I was having a conversation with her, and I was like, one thing that I've really just noticed by myself, like, I used to be a real devout Christian. Like, I was in church. I was in church Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays. Like, I was doing every Bible study. I have read the Bible so many times. I was doing what's some things called devotions, discipleship groups, Bible study groups, all that. Like, I was doing all of that. And so um and I got to a point where I realized, like, that just wasn't who I was. Meaning, I would never look like the Christians that I was seeing, like the pastors and the spiritual mentors that I was seeing. I would just never look like them. As well as, and I told my aunt this, like, she's a very spiritual being too. And I was like, and I'll never look like you. Like, and I'm okay with that. And like, and I've become okay with like who I am as a person. And to even take it further, like, not even on a spiritual realm, like, let's talk about art. Like, I have always said, like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. Now, this is a podcast for another day, but cliff notes. I didn't have any creativity because I was giving myself to other people. But also too, like, I'm not a drawer. I can't draw. I really can't paint. While I do enjoy these activities, and while I do enjoy um like art, like, I enjoy going to the art museum. I enjoy going to like painting with a twist. I thoroughly enjoy it. Like, me trying to sit here and act like I'm good at drawing and painting, I'm just not. And it's funny because I just had this conversation with one of my cousins, and she was like, "Oh, you're a perfectionist." And it's funny because people, I get told I'm a perfectionist a lot, but like people who actually are like with me in the grind, like they're like, it's so funny because you do not like believe in perfectionism. Like there isn't a such thing as perfectionism in Lisa's world, and people like tend to come to you say calling you a perfectionism when in reality like you've just accepted who you were, and you've accepted like, and the thing about me is a lot of the stuff that like people will call me a perfectionist on, I've tried. And sometimes it's as simple as like I just can't get my brain to tell my body how to do like the right stroke or how to do something simple or whatever the case might be. But I've just come to that like I'm not an artist. Like I'm not an artist, but I'm a writer. I love to write. I love music. You know, I don't even think I'm like musically inclined, but like I did used to play the saxophone. I did used to be a DJ, you know, so there's different forms of arts that I'm okay with. And so I say that to say like my aunt who I was talking to was like, and I respect that about you because you're not trying to be anybody else. You're trying these things, you're figuring out who and what it is that you're doing, but also too like you have come to know yourself and you're okay with that. And I, you know, she was like, I think that's a beautiful thing. And so I think for me, that is something that I've had to become okay with. I've had to be at a place where I realize like, hey, like this is who I am and I can't force myself to be anybody. And it's easier said than done. Like people are always like, oh yeah, that's how you're supposed to be. But let's be real. Like that's not how we act. You know what I'm saying? Like we can say, oh yeah, like just always be you, but the reality is like sometimes like us being us is just not accepted like it for me like oh you're just not trying hard enough or you're just not doing this and I am trying hard enough like stop. So yeah, me time is no longer an option but a necessity. This is me. Let me tell y'all something about me. Let me tell y'all, I'm the type of person that, and I've learned this in therapy. My therapist has really brought this to my attention. I am a person that I have to process. Like I cannot go from one event to the next without processing. If I do not process, that is where like my anxiety and depression comes in. Because so basically what I'm saying is like my whole life I've been having like a busy schedule when now I'm at a place where like I have to have breaks in between. So like if I don't have my 2 hours a day to just Lisa, it's a bad day. So whether that's me waking up in the morning, whether that's me cutting the evenings off, and I'm also that type of person like I don't need to work 8 hours a day, and which is probably why I don't have a traditional job, and it's probably why I probably could never go back to a traditional job because I can't see myself working 8 to 12 hours a day because that just doesn't make sense to me. It just the whole system just doesn't make sense to me. And not to shame anybody who does it. Like if that's what you do, like that is what you do. But I'm specifically talking about myself. For me, that's not an option. For me, it's very hard to jump from one thing to the next. That is definitely where my depression and anxiety come in. And so I have to have me time. Me time is incorporated daily, whether that's me sitting here watching Jurassic Park, sitting outside, journaling, doing yoga, going for a walk, playing with my dogs. But even sometimes I have to give myself that boundary with my dogs. Like I have to be able to not have my dogs. Because like they are a distraction as well. Like sometimes you literally just need to be by yourself. Like sometimes you just have to lock them up. You go in your room and it just be that, or send the dogs to somebody else's house and it just be that. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I have to, which is I spend a lot of time out building. I mean, 9 out of 10 times one of my dogs is with me, but having that alone time, having that peaceful time, I have been waking up a little bit earlier to try to get alone time. I mean, I have these puppies in my house, so like right now there is no alone time. I mean, from humans, have these puppies in my house, so I'm constantly like cleaning, and it's very stressful and tiring. So if y'all want a puppy, come buy one. I'm not joking. So yeah, loving me first makes me better in all areas of my life. I firmly believe this. Once I started taking care of myself, I had heard from people that the healing has looked beautiful on me. I had heard from people that I was just a better person in general overall, and they just saw, and I saw it in myself too. Like, I saw the difference in perspective. I saw the difference in my life transformation. I just saw opportunities. Like, once I started setting boundaries and once I started really healing, I saw the endless opportunities that started to pop up, the love and support. And so it's very hard to put boundaries in places, and that's, I mean, let's just be completely honest. Even now, like, even with these puppies, like, this is a boundary that I'm going to have to address eventually, because it's taken up too much of my time and it's taken up my space in my home, and it's a reason why I am, like, where I'm at in life, and so it does come apart, because you do want to help people, but also too, like, at what cost are you helping people? At what cost are you sacrificing yourself to make sure other people are good? And I'm just at a place where, like, yeah, I can no longer sacrifice my life for anybody else, because at the end of the day, me sacrificing my life has made me depressed. And that's actually a contrary belief to my Christian belief, like, Jesus sacrificed his life, so you're supposed to. And honestly, that mind frame has put me in such a deep dark depression for so many years, because I have always had the mentality, like, oh, you're supposed to be like Jesus, you're supposed to be like Jesus, when in actuality, like, what I was doing is I was neglecting myself. And I just don't feel like that's what God had called us to do. Like, I don't feel like God told us to be miserable for other people's happiness, again, that's another conversation for a different day. But yeah, so that was our icebreaker. So I hope you enjoyed it. So I am gonna try to switch up some things with the podcast. I'm gonna try to do a couple of different segments. I'm gonna see how it works. So today is kind of the first time that I'm trying that. So we did the intro. So I'm thinking introduction, icebreaker, check-in topic, and then I'm gonna leave y'all with an affirmation, and then of course housekeeping. So I'm gonna see how that goes. And then for those of you who don't know, we do a segment called Grief Beyond Death, and Grief Beyond Death is when we bring on other people, and we kind of talk about um, well, so one, what we grief beyond death means that we have grief outside of death. We, like, grief is not only associated with death, but it is associated with, like, a divorce. It is associated with your old self. If you got a terminal illness, grieving the body you used to have. Maybe it's a relationship, a friendship, a job, a house fire, something like that. So it's grief beyond death. um I'm thinking about maybe adding a segment where's, if whether I have a guest or not, but we'll see how that goes. So just so y'all know, I will be trying some new things, so we'll see how all of that goes. But yeah, so we did the icebreaker. Let's go ahead and jump into the check-in for the day. So the check-in, right now I'm just so tired, y'all. I am just so tired. The grand opening was phenomenal. The grand opening was on October 23rd, and that is the topic for today, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but it turned out so good. You can now book everything on my website. You can we'll get into that, but anyways, so yeah. And then man, the day after my grand opening, less than 24 hours later, there was a mass shooting in St. Louis, where a teacher and a student and the suspect was killed. And so Wednesday I ended up going to the visual, um and that was just an unexplainable feeling. It was just unexplainable. You know, mass shootings aren't new. We've been seeing quite a few of them. We've been seeing a lot. And when the Texas shooting happened, I was very vocal about that. The thing about this shooting is it happened in SOPS, which is the district out here in St. Louis, and I am a SOPS alumni. And so I think about, like, I used to work in these schools. I used to like go to games in these schools. And the thing about it is, those families, those kids, the community is going to have a lot of healing to do. Mass shootings are anything that is easily understood, and I don't know that there's one solution. Like, everybody's running to gun laws. And so while I think gun laws should be in place, I'm not denying that they shouldn't. But what I am thinking about, because the mass shooter, the FBI denied him buying a gun, but he was able to go to a private seller and still buy the same gun that the FBI denied him. And there's no laws against that. Like, there's nothing that would have stopped him from getting that gun. And so when people ask, like, what's the solution? Like, I don't know. Because I think we have to come to terms that when a person is determined, and we talked about this in during National Suicide Awareness Month in September, when a person is determined, they're going to do it. They're going to, we talked about it in the suicide reference, like when a person is ready, they're going to do it, and it doesn't matter how many people have jumped in, have helped, have done this and have done that. When a person is determined, their mind is already made up. And so for people who have um this notion of I'm just going to do it, like, this is where, like, places like Healing She Got Faith, what's the national number, 988, the new number that you can call if you need to talk to somebody. This is where, like, mental health resources have to come into place, because people need an outlet, people need the resources, and our society has not set people up for success. Our society has not set people up to be in a place where they can actually um heal. There's a lot of generational trauma. He left a note that said he was always a loner, never had a girlfriend, never had friends. It was a perfect storm for a mass shooting. And what do you do with that? And I'm not saying like gun laws aren't gonna work. I'm not saying I'm stuck. I don't know what will work. I don't know what we can do. So that happened on Monday. Like I said, Tuesday was very weird in St. Louis. Wednesday I went to the visual. It was beautiful to see the community come out. The families of the people who were lost were there. It was, as good as a visual could be, given the circumstances. It was very well put together. It was very beautiful. It was beautiful to see community. I'm a community person, y'all. Like, so to see people come together and just show love and be authentic, that is so big for me, and that just warms my soul. I didn't know what I could do outside of like offering services, offering my building as a safe space, but also to like just showing up in community and being there was very beautiful. But then the next day came, and my sister was extremely sick, and I ended up being in the hospital with her, and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be something so much worse. I thought we were gonna lose her. And it's hard to say that out loud because I just had never seen her that sick. I didn't know what was going on. Turns out she had COVID. So I spent the day in the hospital with her. I've tested negative, thank God. But yeah, I tested negative, and ever since then I've just been running around trying to help her, trying to help her kids. Again, I'm taking care of these dogs. So it's been a lot of running around. So nevertheless, like, I'm just tired. I'm fatigued. It's been a lot. I got to do a lot for the organization as well. Today's Sunday. So I'm recording this on a Sunday. I know I said happy Monday at the beginning, but I'm recording this on a Sunday. So because I have stuff to do tomorrow morning, so I just won't physically have the time to get up early in the morning and record like I normally would. So Sunday evening, here we are recording. Yes. So yeah, that was our check in. So let's jump right into the topic. So we are still in the Power of Grief series, which this will be the final episode of this series. This has been a long running series, and I think it's been a pretty good one. I think it was very powerful just to look at grief. This does not mean that we're done with grief. It just means that we are moving on to the next topic. Okay. So Today's topic is the grand opening and healing in the final episode of Power of Grief. So, yes, October 23rd, I had the grand opening of the Healing Community Office, which is by Healing She Got Faith. So, I have just been super excited about the growth of Healing She Got Faith. We have been through so much, y'all. I wrote my first book and got it published, and then also too, I got it unpublished, and I technically don't have a published art. I was gonna say artwork. I technically don't have a published work right now. I will have to find a new publisher and republish a lot of stuff. So, Healing She Got Faith was a published has some published work. We have the blog, we have the talk show, and then we have our grief groups and just a couple other programs that we've been doing. And so now we have the building, which is a co-working space, but also a space of releasing. So it's an office. It's not quite a community center, but it's an office. You can come in. It's separated into two spaces. So we have the professional side, which is called the Sunshine Room, and then we have, I'm calling it like the lounge area, which is more like coffee lounge type of vibes. And so you can work on either side. You can do studying, group work, but also too in the healing lounge, I have a section, a memorial wall where you can come and put your loved ones and kind of sit with them and just release or hold on. If you need a place to cry, this is like the good place to be. So, Healing She Got Faith has just grown. It started off from a blog, and now we're a full blown organization, which has just been so cool for me to see. And honestly, like for me to not sleep on myself, but for me to like give myself props. Like, I really did this. I did this by myself. I did have some helping hands along the way. And so I'm grateful for the helping hands, but this has been my vision that I've created. So, yeah. What does the office represent? The office represents a place for people who are just healing and loving themselves and growing professionally and personally. So this is that place where you can bring your professional, you can bring your personal, but you can be you can release, you can grow, you can heal. I firmly believe that. Grief is the reason for all of this. Like, grief is the reason. Losing my mom was the reason that all of this was come about. So, yeah, the differences I've seen in myself while I've been grieving is just the motivation, the passion, the love. Um, I very much well could have given up. I could have given up a very long time ago. This was not an easy walk in the park. And honestly, it's not something that I would recommend to anybody. Like, and people who call me a negative Nancy. People will call me a negative Nancy, but honestly, y'all, like, you really gotta have some true stamina. And honestly, like, I did it by myself, and I just wouldn't recommend that to anybody. Like, I lost a lot of money, I lost a lot of time. There were times where I fucking hated this building. Okay, I'll just be quite frank. I fucking hated Healing She Got Faith. Like, I hated it. Like, I there was so many times I really could have just really lost my shit, and I didn't, and I'm proud that I didn't. And I think that's part of healing, like being honest with myself, recognizing my part in the drama, and working and recognizing like just my whole place in this and trying to make it better. So yeah. The place, like I said, the place is a co-working space. Oh, I don't know why my words are so jumbled together. My God. The space is a co-working space, and it's a place where you can come to work and release, to heal, to grieve, to love, learn about yourself. And so I pride myself in that. I'm really, really proud of that. Yeah, and healing. Like, I think healing has just been beautiful. I think for me, I've just been coming into this new age, Lisa. I turned 31 on the 20th. And so chapter 31 has been beautiful so far. I mean, it's only been like 10 days, I guess. 9 days. What's today? Today is the 30th. Um Oh yeah, it's been 10 days. So, but chapter 31 has been beautiful. My birthday was beautiful. The grand opening was beautiful. So it was definitely a great start to chapter 31. But yeah, it's been a lot, which is kind of, I guess that's kind of why I sound the way I do, because I'm having different visions for my just for my organization. I'm having different visions for the podcast, and just really figuring out myself and fitting, I'm also too kind of distracted because these puppies will not stop fucking barking. Like, literally, they were quiet and I turned on the microphone and they're having a fucking circus in my living room. Fucking crazy. That's another thing. You can tell I get frustrated when I start like cussing and every other word is fuck. It's definitely like a sign to myself and the people around me that like I'm frustrated, I'm fatigued, I'm fucking over it. So yeah. So let's go ahead, let's do some housekeeping. So the blog is still up. You can go to HealingSheGotFaith.com/blog. We are up every Wednesday at 3 o'clock p.m. Central. We do have a new website. So on the website, you can book everything online. So you can book to be a guest. You can book a grief group. You can book any of the events we have on there. We have a calendar that kind of lets you know what's going on, but also to like, we have a men's group. We have a couple new grief groups. We have a couple retreats coming up. So yes. And then this is for the podcast. We will be starting a new series next week, which is called Grief, Healing, and Holidays, which that is also the name of one of the grief groups that we will be having. And so what that is that is a support for people who are grieving, healing during the holidays. We have entered the grief season, which is the holiday season. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then we just have a couple new programs that we will be doing. I have a couple new journals. I'm excited about that. So yeah, I'm sorry I have truly missed y'all in the last 2 weeks. And I just wanted to come and give y'all a little something. I know today's episode is kind of short, but y'all know I like these shorter episodes anyway. So yeah, the grand opening was beautiful and healing has been beautiful, and I miss y'all and I love y'all, and I will catch y'all here next Monday. Have a great Monday, y'all. Please take care of yourself. um I am sending love and light to the families that were affected with the mass shooting that happened last week. And I'm sending love and light to St. Louis. And then any listener here, like, yeah, like, just please take care of yourself. Our affirmation. Oh yeah, that's the new segment. Affirmation. As our affirmation said, I am a priority. Um, I will remind myself of the need to pour into me before pouring into anyone else. I want you guys to remember that as the week goes on, remember that you are worthy of that rest. You are worthy of that me time. You are worthy of love. Okay. So I know I always say it, but love you the way you the way you love the world. Okay. Our affirmation for this week is loving me first makes me better in all areas of my, actually, no, scratch that. Let's make our affirmation this by blackfemaletherapist.com. Me time is no longer an option but a necessity. Loving me first makes me better in all areas of our life. Okay? Me time is no longer an option but a necessity. Loving me first makes me better in all areas of my life. So go out there, love you the way you love the world. I love you guys. I will catch you next Monday. Bye, guys.